In today's episode, part 2 of LinkedIn Basics, coming right up. Hi, my name's Tony Morrow, and this is Getting to Hired, the show that's helping you, the military member, successfully transition from your military career to your new civilian one. In today's episode, part 2 of our LinkedIn series, where we'll be discussing your work experience, your education, and the difference between keywords and buzzwords. Before we get started, we have to make some changes to our privacy settings, just like we did in the first video. Up here in the top corner, you'll see that little picture of yourself with me. You're going to click on that, come down to Settings and Privacy, and then once you're there, scroll down to Sharing Profile Edits. If you're currently set to yes, like I am here, we're going to switch that to no to make sure that any changes that we're making over the course of this tutorial are not automatically updated to your network. The experience section in LinkedIn is much like your experience section in your resume. This is the area in your LinkedIn profile where you'll be able to go into detail and tell us about your various different positions and roles at the different companies that you've worked at. When looking at the experience section, if you want to make an addition or a new entry, go to the top corner at the plus sign. Click this plus sign and this tab will come up. Here you'll be able to put in your title, so the role that you fulfilled in the different organization, identify the company that you worked for, the location, and the time frame at which you worked there. Here you can also put in headline or information as to your role and a more in-depth description as to what it is that you actually did. There's also a section here to upload media, such as videos, articles that associate or that can illustrate your role or amplify the description of the role that you did. Going to the top here, picking your title, that's a fairly straightforward exercise in the sense that you will be putting in the role or the job position that you had. For the company, this is a very interesting and important piece to get right. You could put in, for example, Canadian Navy. When it comes to the company, you can see here I've typed in Canadian Navy, and LinkedIn has automatically suggested that I meant to say the Royal Canadian Navy. Now, the difference between the two here is that if I were to put in Canadian Navy, there is no picture or icon or associated LinkedIn profile to that organization. Whereas if I picked Royal Canadian Navy, you can see that there is an associated LinkedIn profile and picture with it. The importance of this is that if you pick the proper organization, then it adds credibility and legitimacy to your posting. If we go to my profile here, you can see, as we scroll down, I have pictures or little icons or logos beside each one of my job descriptions. The Royal Canadian Navy here, as you can see, listed in a sort of timeline format, has the iconography or the logo of the Royal Canadian Navy, and then the various positions that I held. Something to consider when you're filling out your text in your description for your work experience is to how much of that text is going to be visible before being collapsed. Here you can see there's a body of text and then this little See More tab, which if I click that, expands the rest of the text information. Now, when you see less, you'll see this is what is visible initially when someone is going to be scanning your profile. You'll notice that there's a certain body of text. In this case, you've got the tagline for the company in question, services, as I describe here, that are being provided in point form, and then there's the media. What's important to understand about this layout is that the media will always be visible, clickable, and viewable, whereas the text may not be. When you're composing or coming up with the text that you're going to put in there, make sure that you craft it in such a way that is visually impactful so that you know that what you write is getting in front of people's eyes and they can see and understand and are interested in what you're writing. If they're interested, they'll click the See More tab and be able to digest or get more in depth into that role and responsibilities that you had in that last position. As you scroll down here, you'll notice a number of different media and videos that I've input. In this one, for example, this is a video that describes what a Marine surface and subsurface officer is, something that if I took the time to describe in words might take far too long as far as the amount of text that it would take, whereas this video, a much more engaging, succinct, and interactive form of communicating that information. Here I have one that describes about the last ship that I was posted on, and as I expand this, you'll see I have a number of different videos as well. Here in the education portion of your profile, you can see in the corner here, you have the logo or icon for the school in question, in this case, the Australian Institute of Business. And here I've listed the kind of degree that it is, the date completed. And as you can see, I've included some media related to the school. So this, for example, is with regards to a guest lecturer from LinkedIn that is presenting or being a guest lecturer rather at the Australian Institute of Business. And as you scroll down here, you'll see that here I have my my bachelor's degree listed. But one thing that when I look at this, I think, this video information is probably more engaging than this brief little text here, which really is just amplifying information for my MBA. So what am I going to do? I'm going to move it up. I take the icon, move it over to what some may refer to as a hamburger menu, the stacked lines underneath the pencil. It allows you to move different pieces of your profile around for formatting. So here, you're going to click on this and move this up. Now it's directly underneath my MBA. So when I collapse this to see less of my education pieces of information, and I scroll down, I can see the MBA, which is my kind of premier piece of education, profiled right there. And then underneath, I have my bachelor's degree, and you can see here I have a little video about the English program at Trent University, and as you can see in this thumbnail, talking about the #1 undergraduate university in Ontario. So we've spoken about your work experience and your education. Now, keywords and buzzwords. What are keywords? Keywords are key search terms that are peppered into your profile that allow recruiters or anybody searching LinkedIn to be able to more easily find you or find candidates, LinkedIn profiles, that better match what they're looking for. Buzzwords are words that, similar to keywords, are high-profile words, except that they are words that are often used, perhaps overused. For example, the word driven, extensive experience, an expert. If you have many of these words in your profile, they can potentially be buzzwords. I would say the key difference between these two is your ability to substantiate. So if you say in your profile, for example, that you are an expert in XYZ, just to say that in itself doesn't necessarily provide you any credibility or validation. Rather, you need to provide an example of why you are an expert in that field. If I were to identify myself as being an expert in underwater demolitions, I would say expert in underwater demolitions, and then underneath that, perhaps in my work experience, I would say supervised and or participated in over 100 underwater demolition exercises. If I was to say that I have extensive experience in the marine security environment, then I would say 11 plus years operating as a naval warfare officer on the East Coast, the West Coast, and during international operations, providing security and military operations in those areas. The point being that if you're going to use a buzzword, you need to be able to validate it or substantiate it with description and experience to show that you're not just throwing these terms out there willy-nilly. Again, back to keywords. Keywords are terminology that your industry uses to help identify qualified individuals in your field. If you found this video useful today, then please give us a like and consider subscribing on our YouTube channel at Getting2 Hired. If you're on LinkedIn, then please feel free to share this video with anybody and everybody who you think would find value in the information provided. We'll be coming to you next week on Wednesday with part 3 of this video, and don't miss us on Friday for our live stream on YouTube, Sliders, where we talk about all your comments on this video and videos before, as well as any topics that you want to discuss in the comments. Looking forward to seeing you then. Bye for now.